Hello, everybody. Welcome. Thank you for joining us today here at Projective. We've been working on this webinar for a couple of weeks now, and we're really grateful to have you join us. Today, we're going to talk about hybrid post-production with Strawberry Multisite. And so we're going to just give it a minute or so for everybody to join. And also, we're looking forward to seeing some of you at the NAB show in Vegas very soon. We'll be at booth SL9507, that's in the south lower hall. And I'm pretty sure a few of you here in the attendance list will be attending the show as well. So safe travels, and we hope to see you there. So it's sort of, it's a minute in, so we're going to get started just to allow for everybody to keep to their calendars and their timings. Welcome again. Today's speakers, including myself, Bea Alonso, I work with the Projective team on their marketing initiatives, and it is a pleasure to work with them. I've been in this industry for over 20 years. Some of my background includes well-known companies in this industry, and as I say, it's fantastic to work with the Projective team. Part of that team is Derek, who is the CEO over here.
I'll move over to the right, so it looks like the picture.
And thank you, Derek. We've got Marco, who is the co-founder and product owner here at Projective. And also Andrew. Andrew, can you go forward a little because you're a little bit dark there? Excellent, thank you. Andrew also collaborates with Projective and is a solutions consultant. So the agenda today is going to cover very specifically a new solution that we are showcasing at NAB and that we announced very recently over the last couple of weeks here at Projective. It's called Strawberry Multisite. Hopefully the name is quite self-descriptive, but we want to tell you what it is and also why. Why have we created a Strawberry Multisite? What are the needs that it responds to? Then Andrew and Marco are going to cover some use cases and examples. Well, the use cases are going to be introduced by Derek, and then they're going to be reviewed as a demo on the product itself by Andrew and Marco. We'll have a Q&A session towards the end. Feel free to post your questions on the Q&A panel as you go. We may answer some of them or we may leave in towards the end. Just feel free to post your questions as we go. And then, of course, we'll give you a few resources to follow up, where to find out more. The session is being recorded, and the recording will be shared with everyone who registered for the webinar. And we'll also be sharing, of course, the slides, and the demonstration will be part of that recording. So without further ado, I'm going to hand over to Derek to introduce Strawberry Multisite.
Thanks, Bea. I appreciate it. So looking at the list, there's a lot of people that are new, but a lot of people who we've had some contact with in the past. So we're going to focus on specifically what we're doing about multi-site here, but obviously if you guys want a more introductory kind of view of Strawberry, we'd be happy to give you guys a demo of the basics kind of anytime. So we're going to focus today on what are the needs and why we built multi-site. And really it's all about scale, right? We see all of these companies trying to basically scale their production beyond the physical boundary of their traditional facility. And one of the ways they're trying to do that is to scale from that facility to add cloud resources whilst incorporating that existing infrastructure. Another way that people are trying to do it is basically to incorporate remote production without breaking the bank, of course. But also one of the key things people are trying to do is basically incorporate new geographies. So, adding additional production resources, agencies, facilities, either through acquisition or just expansion. It can be extremely difficult to take someone who has a completely different way of working and then bring those together. So, it's kind of difficult to do without losing your mind. Now, most of the attendees on this session all have a technical background, and with that in mind, it's in our nature as technical people. I'm including myself with you, but it's in our nature to kind of try to break down problems that are large into doable, smaller point solutions to point problems. So when you're looking at the problem of trying to scale your production, if you're seeing a difficulty just getting content into the system, you might think, oh, I have a replication problem. What I need is something like Aspera. Or if you're thinking, you know what I really have is a connectivity problem of getting users to connect into my facility, I might look at something like Teradici. Or if I'm thinking, hey, I've got this global production I need to kind of all bring under one hood, I might think of something like Hammerspace or Pixit. And each of these solutions are perfectly good solutions for the problem that they're designed to solve. But they don't all kind of address the whole stack of what you need in post-production. And all of them, bring their additional so management models, their integration points and structures. And so when you start to take a step back and think about trying to scale your production as a whole, adding all of these different things really becomes difficult to manage with the teams that we have. So diving into a little bit more detail, and if you can move this slide forward, please, Bea. There's kind of different typical approaches we're seeing people, that could solve this issue. One of them is obviously storage based, right? So, your storage may be getting full, or you maybe need to expand it. Storage is by nature file based, and so it works really well it'll get your data there, right? You've got data, you've got your files, but it doesn't really understand how files fit together, right? And it certainly doesn't help you with things like metadata. So then you look at the kind of traditional MAM-based solution to the problem of which is by nature asset focused. That solves your metadata problem by having really rich metadata. But also with a MAM, it's not designed to work with the work in progress, the dirty kind of stuff of what people are doing in a day-to-day basis. So it solves that metadata aspect particularly for finished content, but it's not very good for understanding the relationships between assets and as people work on them. And then you look at how people just kind of had to get through things like COVID or try and incorporate remote work. A lot of these kind of shadow workflows kind of built up, and you know what, Dropbox is here or Google Drive is here, let's just use it. Or I can just WeTransfer content to somebody, or we still hear courier stories all the time, right? Obviously that stuff solves a need, but you're breaking your security model, right? And then there's an application specific approach to it. So I always like to use the example of Media Central as an Avidian. Basically, Media Central is a fantastic tool for Media Composer, but for everything else, it's not designed to really suit those needs. So it's designed to work around one application. So if you look at each of these pieces, each of them as a component makes sense and is a perfectly viable approach to trying to solve the issue. But if you're really trying to think about it, you need a solution that gets your data there. You need a solution to get metadata there. You need a solution that maintains your security model. And you need a solution that will work with all of the application stack, because let's face it, everyone here has more than just Media Composer or Premiere, right? So what you need is a solution that fits to all of those different points, but also kind of understands how content relates to each other, so that you can derive meaning from the files and the metadata and the content that you're working with. So how did we solve it? So I'm not going to go into talking about how awesome Strawberry is, which I'd love to do, but then you guys get bored. But basically, it's important to understand that by focusing on the project-based approach, which is core to our company, it's in our name, right? So we do that. We understand the way data and metadata and assets and permissions and storage all kind of fits together into this project, into these containers. And if you think about what a Strawberry project is, it is a container workspace for the creative work. It's more than just a Premiere project file or a Media Composer project file. It can obviously contain those and can be pre-structured. But basically it now allows our customers to define that structure, folder structure, project file structure, and then access permissions as well, with a team assignment on a project basis, and then also physically define where the work will actually happen. So the editors can work off their Strawberry project, their workspaces. And what that does is It puts you in control of those workspaces. And then when you take a step back and you think about the need to expand your production to either multiple sites or a cloud and on-premise system, if you think on that level, it becomes possible to have persistent permissions and a consistent structure with independence on the application level and a unified view of both the cloud and the on-premise or multiple on-premise systems, all from one visible, intuitive UI. So, um, so I've been speaking very esoterically, and I hope this stuff resonates with you guys. But it sometimes helps to kind of look through some kind of use cases that we're already seeing for this, and each one of these are actually relating to a customer who either is doing this right now or about to do it very soon. So, so let's talk about one simple use case. One of our big customers has basically committed their entire creative processes to working in the cloud with Strawberry and LucidLink as a cloud storage. They're very happy with that way of working. They have upstream of us a very well-defined kind of resource management tool that's integrated with what we do, so that the scheduling application can flow straight into the projects and storage assignment for the different projects that they work on. But putting everything into one nest is a little bit scary, right? So you need to have a kind of DR strategy, and so what they have is actually a full capacity Pixit system on premise with all the same users, all the same projects, all the same structure defined on it. And if for some reason the cloud is unavailable or the service is unavailable, they can, at the click of a button, take those same users, fail over to the on-premise system and keep working. So those hundreds of users don't have to wait days to be able to work again. They can immediately fail over and work. And it's that project-centric data protection that really, really appeals to them. It's also a flexibility that comes of those users being able to actually go to the on-premise system on a Monday or into a cloud system on a Tuesday. That really is appealing as well. Now, another use case is, so one of our customers in North America selected Skies as their collaboration platform. And again, it's all servers that we're managing for them, running off of cloud storage based on LucidLink, and they're extremely happy with the approach. But they have like a petabyte of classic archive information that's already in a functional archive on premise. There's no monetary desire to migrate that to a cloud platform. So they want to leverage their existing archive. So what we're doing for them is putting a Strawberry layer on top of that cloud system, indexing their archive for them, presenting that storage in a logical structure with the same look and feel and metadata and permission model as the cloud system. And now that gives them the capability of basically working as they expect off the cloud system, but then accessing individual archive projects or content on an ad hoc basis, and now, but those users still get to work off of the cloud environment. This also allows them to do some min-maxing of resources, right? You don't have to have everything in the cloud. You can have what is necessary in the cloud, and everything else can kind of flow from the archive. So you can really optimize both of your financial outlays. Then there's another major content house that we work with who has Strawberry implemented at multiple sites around the world. They have a corporate MAM that we've integrated with, and the MAM delivers and upstream scheduling applications as well. And all of that stuff integrates into Strawberry and basically places assets into projects and assigns those projects to users in an on-prem context, all in an automated way. Now, and the security model is super robust because obviously security is important to everyone, but this particular content vendor is producing a extremely strategic and content that needs to be secured. So when they bring on a freelancer, or when one of those freelancers needs to work on, for instance, say, approachable session from home, what they want to be able to do is essentially they could work in the facility on a Monday and they've got their approachable session. They go home on a Tuesday. They want to work on their same system, or they can log in from their home machine with a Strawberry client on it. They can connect to now a cloud system that has the same permissions model. It has the same look and feel. It has the exact same session, right? So you can just push the project into the secure cloud system that's also running Strawberry. Like I said, it's unified, and they can work very flexibly on a Monday or Tuesday. Also for freelancers, someone's coming in, they don't even have to get access to the primary on-premise system. They can only get access to the individual projects in the cloud system, work on those, and security is maintained. Security group collaboration, and it gives them the flexibility really to work across those different tiers. Now, okay, so if you extrapolate from this and just take a step back for a second, hopefully you'll see the vision. And the vision is that you could have, unified global collaboration. You could have production hubs in North America and APAC and EMEA, all federated in this multi-site mesh where everyone can have a single coherent project structure, organized metadata, organized permissions model, and all of these systems can be unified and then linked to obviously your billing and management applications. What this does is it gives you standardization. North America could have, for instance, legacy on-premise storage like from Iceland, say, and Latin America could have a Pixit, or EMEA could have a Pixit. Doesn't matter. Maybe your production team in Asia still wants to work a Final Cut. Doesn't matter. Maybe your LA team wants to work off a Media Composer, but everyone else is on Premiere. It doesn't matter. Like I said, you can use this with all these different applications, including print applications. So you can have a single global project framework and have that propagate across your entire corporation. So summary, just before we kick it over the demo, is just that this project-based approach is ideal for understanding the relationship and how assets, metadata, storage, and permissions all fit together. And by the way, you can do this for any application under the sun. But basically what that means is this can become your foundation basically for all of your storage instances around the world. And it can help you unify these very discrete environments, can help you actually implement a global model with persistent permissions, with a consistent structure and metadata, and a visibility that we can provide for the work in progress that you just won't get if you've got your editors working on hard drives or cloud or on individual NAS boxes here and there. Obviously, the benefits in terms of time and money should be clear. So I didn't even write them down here, but obviously those should be clear. But the key, I think, from a technical perspective is, that you get improved security as well, because you have that persistent security model. You have true independence because you can actually use any architecture, storage, or application of your choice. And that gives you the foundation to really get scale and have a team managing global resources. So I hope that makes sense. I wanted to fly through it. Let's show it to you, right? So on that note, I'll give back to Bea, and she can give over to Andrew and Marco.
Yeah, thank you. So Marco and Andrew, whenever you're ready, take it away.
Cool, thank you. So some of you will be familiar with part of this diagram, and everything on the left, the blue, green, and purple circles, are what we call our Skies platform. So this is where we combine the Strawberry front-end user experience with all of our security and cloud services with the LucidLink cloud file system. And we enable users wherever they are in the world, remote, on-site, on-prem, to connect into the Skies platform and have project-based connections to cloud storage. So this forms the basis of our multi-site demo. And this is quite a common use case where a customer might combine Skies, which is the cloud platform, let's call it at the edge of their organization, with a core on-premise site. And so if you look to the right-hand side of this diagram, this is a more traditional Strawberry deployment, I guess. Predates skies. Many of our customers will have this, where you have physical infrastructure such as servers and storage running in data centers, maybe owned by the customer or co-located, with all of those bigger items of infrastructure such as LTA libraries and things like that, and editors in edit suites. And so what we're showing is how easy it is if we take a project-based approach to transfers between these two domains, if you will. We can actually move permissions, we can move the project and the assets and all their associated metadata, and the everything to do with the project we can move between these two domains, even though they're literally in separate data centers, potentially separate geolocations around the globe. So Marco is going to create the project on-prem, which is again a common use case. Projects are born out of a core site, maybe the on-prem, and he's going to send it to me in New York. I will then open the project from our cloud-backed, our Sky system, and I'll make some changes and send it back to Marco, and then going to sort of the other example use case that we're happy to discuss is where we want to archive everything from this core on-premise site. For example, we may have a big LTO library from one of our providers. Doing things in a project-based way enables archive to be really, really easy, really, really simple. Handing over to you, Marco.
Thank you for the introduction, Andrew. So let's get started by sharing my screen over here. And once that's done, let's create a new project in Strawberry. So we click on the No Project Open info up here and then on New Project. So what we see here is actually the metadata configuration for this project. You can see we have a project ID in here. We have a drop-down menu that has certain values in it. And what I'm going to do here is I select brand agency, and then you can see a list of clients is popping up. So we choose Duff Beer, obviously, as the client, and then the Duff brand. So this is a demo environment, which is why this is tailored towards demos. Like my metadata is demo specific, but of course customers configure this by themselves, creating their own drop-down menus, text input fields, number generators, and replacement patterns. So this is fully customizable and very easy to configure via the Strawberry admin panel. So last but not least, we give this project a name. And this name is Multisite Demo. Why not? That seems about right. If I can type Multisite Demo, looks good. And you can see like the project name is assembled based on the metadata up here, which is also customizable. Then we choose a template. So I have two templates on the system here, generic and Berlin. I'm going with the Berlin template. And the thing about templates is that they provide a basic structure that can be reused across all new projects. So you can really picture this as a collection of pre-configured project files for Avid, Premiere, After Effects, etc. But this also includes folder structures, right, that I want to use across all of my projects. So it's a great way of structuring projects when they are created. The whole process of creating projects can also be done through the API, right? So if you have like a scheduling system in place, for example, and you don't want users to create projects manually, well, you can just have them created by an API call. So we hit next here. We can add a description here, but we skip this part for now. And now we can assign this project to teams and people. So first of all, we give our animation department access to this project here. And then later on, once we have done the editing, we'll give Andrew access to. Yeah, Andrew, anything you want to add here?
Cool. Well, I just wanted to recap what a project is. So if we consider a project is the container for our creative work, then within that project, we can define the structure, which comes from the template. We can pre-populate with content, and we'll add content into that project as we go. We've got the metadata, the permissions, the security. And then just to add on to what you said about, we genuinely work with any app. So we work with all the video and graphics applications, also things like InDesign, Illustrator, Photoshop. We've got really strong functionality with Media Composer with our Nexus style bin locking, and we also work with the audio apps like Pro Tools.
Cool, thank you. All right, so now everything is in place for this project. We click on the create button here. And what this will do is it will create a project on our shared storage in the background, and then also mount a project here or shortcut the project here on our desktop. So what we see here is, when we have a look, is this is the project, including all of its content, and you can see there already is a Premiere project file in here, and there already is a bunch of folders in here, and all of this is coming from the template that I've been talking about earlier. But you can see the client application has detected that there is a Premiere project file in here. So now when we double click on this project file, this will launch Premiere in the background and open up this project right away. And this will also launch the Strawberry Adobe panel, which you can see here on the top left side, which is a great way to search through projects that we have access to, or that I have access to specifically, and to media assets that I have access to. So now in my case here, I just want to import like a bunch of files. So what I'm going to do here is I just, grab maybe a collection of files from down here, and then we just want to right click and say import, and this will then immediately link these files into my project. And then we can just do a selection here and do the master, the super edit here, and just drag and drop all of these into our timeline. Looks pretty good to me. Right from my perspective. So when I've imported these files into my project, they got linked on the shared storage level, meaning that, if another person would go into that project from which I have linked the files into my project and, delete these files, or, archive the project, or delete the entire project, these files would remain online for me here because I'm using them actively in Premiere. This is one of the things that makes it really great to work with Strawberry, because storage management almost becomes an afterthought from a manual kind of like labor perspective. It's all handled by the system. I think we're in a good spot now to send this project over to Andrew. So what I'm doing here is I just save my changes. It's not that much. And then I want to close or just exit Premiere on my machine here, and then I want to close this project here also on my system. So the way to do this is I just go here to the new project widget and just click here on the unmount button, which will close the project on my machine, and then also unmount like the project volumes that have been mounted here on my computer. So in the next step, we just want to click on the Access tab here on the right hand side, and then maybe assign this project to, we have the animation department. I think Andrew is in the animation department on the other side, so that's good. And now we just want to right click here on the project, and here's this new entry that's called Multisite. And when we click on this one, we're now getting into the modal that is asking us where we want to send the project. So our system here is connected to two other Strawberry systems, one in New York and one in London. I'm in Berlin, right? So it's a triple federation. And since Andrew is located in New York, we will just choose this one here as the target site. And the other option that we have here is data retention. Andrew, maybe want to talk about this real quick?
Yes, so I get super excited by data retention. And so, when we're collaborating, particularly in a global context, we need to be really, really careful about how much data we push around, because the larger the project sizes and our media sizes, the longer it takes in terms of time to move stuff from A to B or A to B to C. There's also a consideration around bandwidth used. And then when you're collaborating between multiple sites, you also end up with tons of duplication. So because I'm going to be working on the cloud portion of the workflow, but actually I'll be handing it back to Marco because he is on-prem, it makes sense for Marco to tick that box that says retain data in Berlin. So if you imagine I'm only going to generate maybe 20% more data in this project, or 10, 20%. So it's pointless me transferring the whole thing back, because Strawberry's got the intelligence to retain data and only transfer the new data or the difference in data. We can reduce those transfer times, and we can consume less bandwidth and take less time. Data retention is a very cool and exciting feature, and I think it really starts to differentiate the multi-site solution from a lot of other transfer tools.
So shall we do it? Let's go. Confirm.
Let's go.
Right. So now we get the confirmation that the operation has started. So now what's happening? The storage of the cloud system, which is LucidLink, gets mounted on the on-prem system, like on the server side of our on-prem Strawberry system, and then the data is basically copied into there. So this is what this copying files is about. So we're using LucidLink as the transport layer here. And the nice thing about this is the same LucidLink that is also mounted on the cloud system, right? So as soon as the data is written to LucidLink here, the data is immediately accessible to Andrew, right? So we're first transferring the original media, then the proxies, and you can see like once the project has been fully transferred, it basically vanishes here from my project list because now it is on the Cloud New York system. And this is where I hand over to Andrew to show you what he does next with this project.
Thanks, Marco. So I'm just going to go ahead and load Strawberry. Now, just to recap, because I'm based in the North America region, I'll be connecting to a Skies deployment that is backed by LucidLink. So I will benefit from the low latency connection to my LucidLink file space actually within my geography. And so I'm on a completely separate system to Marco, hence the multi-site story works. Now, if I go ahead and log into this system. There we go. So right at the top of my projects list, I can see the Strawberry Multisite demo that Marco's just sent to me. And I also have a notification in the top left-hand corner, and that's because Marco sent this to me. So I've got in-app, and I would have an email notification for this. Right, so I'm going to go ahead and mount the project. So I'll just hover over here and mount. And then I'm going to launch Premiere. So all things being well, I will see the media. You can see that was the frame that Marco had parked his playhead on, and I've been loaded into the Premiere environment. So I'm ready to go. Now I'm going to go ahead and drag my own local piece of media in. So I've got a piece of stock footage in my downloads directory. I'm just going to drop into here. And it's some time-lapse footage of New York because that's where I am in the world. Right, so one of the very cool features of the Strawberry integration, particularly with Premiere and After Effects, is I drag that in from my downloads folder. But hold on a second, that's not our Skies environment. So we know we're all human, and that's why we have our Find Unmanaged Assets feature, which if I go to the Strawberry panel up here, and if I track unmanaged assets, we can see that Strawberry's actually found this asset. So it's outside of the Skies environment. So this is to really catch, humans being humans. So if I go ahead and import that, that's now going to import it to the Skies drive. So it will create a copy and it will relink the master clips. So most importantly, when I transfer it back to Marco, he's not going to encounter a media offline because that wouldn't be very helpful for him. So I'll save my Premiere project. I'm going to go ahead and unmount this project. And then I'm going to send it back to Marco in Berlin. So if I right click over the project, I have the multi-site menu as well. And I'm going to choose my target site as Berlin. Now, because I'm working at the edge, I don't need to retain my data in New York because I know it's going back home. It's going back to the on-prem system to be archived. So I'm going to leave that data retention unticked. And if I confirm that, so the move operation has started, and you'll see I have the progress bars. Now, because I only actually generated sort of one clip, I've generated a small amount of data. So the relative transfer time is going to be much, much shorter, and we won't reduplicate any of that transfer back because Strawberry in Marco's on-prem site already knows what assets are present.
All right, thanks, Andrew. So you can see this Strawberry multi-site demo project made it back to Berlin. I also received in-app notifications and email notifications. And so let's just mount this project here and let's have a look at it. So first of all, after the project is mounted, we have a quick look here in Windows Explorer. And you can see this is the content of the project. And if we have a look here at this auto-imported folder, you can see that this is the exact time-lapse that Andrew has imported on his end in New York. So the data made it through. So let's actually have a look at the Premiere project file. So we just double click here to open up this project in Premiere 2. And once we're here, you can actually see that the playhead position is exactly where it was when Andrew has saved this project. So what this means is we can send a project somewhere else, have people working on this project, have them send it to other sites to then, either finish the project or archive the project, etc. So I just want to quickly reiterate how cool it is that the system is not only transferring project data and metadata, but also permissions, right? So when you are an organization that has sites across the globe, you want to make sure that the permissions that people have to these projects are the same regardless of where the project is. And basically having everything under the same permission umbrella, if you will. And this is exactly what Multisite gives you here, right? So it's not just about sending files somewhere. It's also making sure that all the properties that you want this project to have are the same no matter where this project is.
Marco, can I just cut in there? Because, yeah,
Of
I
course.
think it's worth mentioning as well. So we have a large number of enterprise users. So with global sites, you need global directories, things like Microsoft Azure. And so this we plug directly in. So users get all of the enterprise access through their traditional two-factor systems, whether it's Microsoft Authenticator or whatever system is in use. But then once you're in the front door, we still maintain those permissions. So regardless of whether you're a core employee in any of the sites or a freelancer on the edge, yeah, there's that security throughout the workflow, regardless of where in the workflow or the world you are.
All right. Do we want to do the last step of the chain here and send it to archive?
Yeah, let's.
Okay, so we hit exit. Yep, we saved the project here. And then let's close the project, clicking amount, because otherwise I cannot archive it. And now the last step here is to basically select this menu here, or just do a right click on the project, select send to archive. And now we just choose our archive strategy here, which is called archive. So one thing worth mentioning here is that Strawberry can archive to various archive endpoints. So we integrate with tools like Archiware, for example, or Object Matrix or Ingenia. But we also directly connect to various cloud endpoints such as S3, Google Cloud Storage, Box, right? So you can archive to your AWS or Wasabi or Backblaze, etc. So in my case here, this is an on-prem archive that is configured here. And this is the only archive strategy. So I just select it in here. And when I hit confirm, this will initiate the archive operation. So send all of the data to the archive. But although now the high-res data is in the archive, I can still browse the proxy files. And I can still restore individual files from the archive as needed. So when we have a quick look in here, and we're going to auto import it, for example, you can see that I still have visibility into this time-lapse video here, or into the proxy of the time-lapse video, but the real data is now tiered basically into a lower cost archive tier. And I can pick up this project at any point in time in the future and continue working on it if I want to.
Yeah, a couple of things just to add to that. So even if an asset is in the archive, we can still, if we have permissions, we can still edit the metadata. So it's possible to have content that is sat in an archive, and we can be curating it, we can be enriching it in terms of adding to that metadata. It can also take part in our review and approve workflows to some degree. And then this is a great example of where if you combine multi-site with the archive, we actually start to plug into some really important use cases, like an organization that may have a central archive in one location but has satellite production all around. So you can always bring the stuff home, you can always make sure it's on the most cost-effective or resilient tier in your data center, in your home site, but you can still collaborate and create and monetize content that is potentially in the archive.
All right. With that said, handing over back to you, Derek and Bea, and thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Folks, good demo and lots of questions that came through, and therefore we're gonna head over to the Q&A session. Yeah, actually quite a lot of questions. We've been answering a couple already live, but let us tackle some of them as they came through. Derek, I think this one is for you. What would be the differentiators against Avid Media Central concept?
I mean, So there's a very, you could go into details about what things, which tools do and which ones other tools don't, but I think it's just generally an architectural kind of conceptual one. I mean, Media Central is designed by Avid to, and dating back to the days when I sold Interplay, it was always designed for, for Media Composer workflows. And even if you looked at what it could do for Pro Tools, which is also, an Avid application, it really didn't add very much to Pro Tools work, right? So really it's designed around that application, and so there's some things that they'll be able to do that we won't, quite frankly, right? But the point we're trying to make is just that who only has Media Composer, right? We want you guys to think a little bit more broadly about how you're also supporting applications like Pro Tools, like After Effects, DaVinci, Cinema 4D. And basically with this framework, you can create a common framework for all of them. It's going to be intuitive. It's going to work with all of them. And obviously in spite of talking a good game about being independent, at the end of the day, Avid is still Avid, right? So they're just obviously going to have a vested interest in building more to encourage their platform. So it's basically a question of independence versus wanting to get everything from one application vendor, right? So. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah. Otherwise, the person who asked, please, you can follow up with further questions if needed. I just wanted to highlight that one of our attendees noticed that the client application looks slightly different, the user interface. Maybe Marco, you want to talk to that? What we were showing there?
Yeah, sure. So what you've been witnessing, I say, is the upcoming new user interface of Strawberry 7. We have been working on this for quite some time. We thought it as a quick reskin, but it turned out to be a whole big refactoring, remaking project. Derek is very happy about that. So we will showcase this also at NAB, and we will release it. There's still some stuff to do. Some views to be modeled, etc. But we expect this to come out officially within the next couple of months.
And of course, all of those changes have been sort of driven through user feedback and input that we've had from you all. So expect to see some real improvements to efficiency and user experience. Andrew, I think this one is for you. How does metadata get transferred?
So so metadata lives with the project, which is particularly important when you're managing a global estate. The last thing you want to do is to have to log into the system and define metadata in certain schemas. You might have a job code that comes into your central thing, or like an archive, a barcode or something. And so metadata is part of that transfer payload. The nice thing is it can flow dynamically, and just like we don't force users to define their metadata prior to deploying a Strawberry or a Sky system, it can evolve over time. That's very much the approach that we've taken with Multisite. So each local region can have, say, their own metadata schema because they've got some local specific stuff that other sites, you don't want to messy up the whole system with these huge metadata schemas.
I'm going to come back to Jared. We have an interesting question because a lot of the people that have joined us today know Strawberry in one way or another. Perhaps they're users, perhaps they've seen it before. But one of our attendees is saying he's new to this technology. And the question is whether this could work similarly to Adobe's digital asset manager. Is this system a way to manage digital assets across creative teams, design, print, podcast, video editing, and sharing those assets with others in our organization through permissions?
The short answer to that question is yes, right? So if you think about it, what we're also trying to do is help you structure the interface to the global storage, right? So there's I think that there's a place for DAM that without getting into a big DAM, MAM, PAM discussion. There's places for each of these tools in the workflow. I think we play a role, and for instance, like fit really nicely with Adobe's collaboration tools. I'm just to name two examples: team projects or shared projects. So you can use these things together, right? And so aspects of the Adobe Digital Asset Management that they provide could be used in conjunction with Strawberry, right? So it's not necessarily competitive, and I hope you don't see it that way. But what we bring is that kind of orchestration of controlling where those project files and those container, those project containers are, and specifically in these kind of like static image, imaging, graphics style workflows. We can have a real value of just kind of helping to consolidate them and keeping people from just working off of local drives everywhere. Hope that helps.
And we can contact you after the session to see if you'd like to explore a little bit deeper or having a one-to-one demo. Interesting question here. Let's see who wants to take it. I like the idea of the remote work cloud storage using Skies with our existing Strawberry setup. We use many production software. Is there a way I can get a private, it's asking, okay, private demo for the company after an AB? Yes, we'll be
That's
in
an easy
touch
one.
and
Yes.
we'll sort that out. Yes, yes is the answer.
Definitely not.
Yeah, sorry, I hadn't
Candace.
read the entire question. Also, with the cloud version, what video resolution are we seeing in the remote desktop, or is it using proxy?
So I can answer this. So but basically, like whenever the transfer is initiated, like the original media will be transferred, right? So what you see in the Strawberry application UI is a proxy, but this proxy is not an editing proxy. This proxy is just for preview and visual search, and basically, helping you to understand what media you're dealing with. So when you're archiving something, for example, you can still search the PAM, aka Strawberry here, right? So this is not an editing proxy. So editing proxies are part of that roadmap that we will create. But of course, like what you can also do is like before you transfer the project, like create editing proxies to make it easier for users, let's say with lower bandwidth at home to access these files. But generally speaking, we're not dealing with editing proxies on our end right now. Although you can use them within Skies, of course, if you want to, their files from our perspective.
Thank you. Question here for Derek, I think. How does licensing work if I have on-prem and cloud systems?
So I always end up getting that pressing question. It's always the answer is always it depends on what you want, right? So of course, certain customers of ours have their own cloud instances where they're spinning up the servers, they're spinning up the storage, and all we sell is Strawberry as a license to them and some professional services, so we can do that. In other cases, we actually host the infrastructure with our Strawberry Skies product, where we're hosting the servers, and it's more of a SaaS model. So that's one of the first things we need to identify. Generally, in order to join a federation, each of the nodes in a federation needs to be enabled with the multi-site node license. But that just enables different sites to join that multi-site federation. And other than that, your licensing is all the same that you may already be familiar with from Strawberry. If you have some specific licensing questions, please please contact us and we can set up a separate session and we can start to scope a project for you.
Okay, we have a couple more questions, and before we close, I have one here for you, Andrew. How does metadata get transferred?
Oh, hold on. Yeah, sorry, is that coming twice? Yeah, I think
Oh,
I might have hit that
I
one.
already ask you that?
That's
No,
all
it's all good. Yeah, there's
just
a couple
checking that you're there. Just checking that you're with
I'm
me.
here.
Okay, good. But we do have actually two people asking the same question around proxy, which is whether the proxies can be editable. If it's something that we're going to work towards as part of the ingest workflow.
Yeah. So like first of all, for some Strawberry use cases, we already have scenarios where we create editing proxies. And this, I just said this to confuse everyone here, right? But this is not part of Skies yet, right? So we have this roadmap item where we say, okay, when you're on-prem or in the cloud, it doesn't matter. You can actually request editing proxies from Strawberry for a specific bin or sequence within Premiere, for example. And then this will, in the background, generate editing proxies based off of these preview proxies. So we cannot really use the preview proxies as editing proxies because they just have a very different structure. The previews are optimized for streaming, editing proxies are optimized for editing, so they need to be very accurate with channel mapping, audio track mapping, all of these things. So we have this technology in place, we need to implement it in Skies, but then when you actually create these editing proxies on a per sequence basis or on a per bin basis, then you can actually fire the project off to the cloud system, for example, where then the remote user can access the project on an editing proxy basis. So this is definitely on the roadmap. It's nothing that we will do in the next 2 months, to be frankly, because we have a lot of stuff to do. But I can imagine this is something that we can approach for later this year.
Yeah.
If I could,
Okay.
if I could answer the question within the question, I think that's probably what Andrew was going to do as well. So it's worth noting that this is why we selected LucidLink as a partner for this architecture, right? The intelligence and the caching that they bring to the table as a real-time file system to bring the performance to the users. It's meant to ensure that people can work off the high res from the cloud and don't need to create this kind of difficult, online offline proxy workflow. Now, I'm oversimplifying things, right? There's a lot of devil in those details, but that's the exact reason why we started to do this after LucidLink came into existence.
Yeah, and then just again, because we are not purely a video product, the proxy question is super important and super valuable to, like, say our ad agency customers, where you're mixing Adobe InDesign files and Photoshop files and After Effects files and vertical video, horizontal video, and we've made huge leaps and bounds with supporting not just your traditional MAM video file types. Like, we've got a great square video player for people who are generating tons of LinkedIn content, vertical stuff for TikTok users. So I think the concept of a proxy outside of video post-production, we value as much because the customers value that. So yeah, so it's we're constantly chasing the next format, but yeah, we're very much on it, and it drives us.
Okay. Question about support for Aspera. Does Skies work with Aspera? Marco, do you want to take that?
I probably hand this over to Andrew. No, just kidding. Okay, so I mean, it depends, right? So you mean like Aspera? You probably mean like Aspera as a means of transporting media, right?
So.
Between sites, yeah. So okay, so when we build multi-site, we build it in a modular way, right? So we have basically a layer that transfers the metadata and the permissions. And there's also a layer that transfers like proxies, for example. But there's also a layer that we call the actual transport layer that is supposed to transport the actual media, right? The high-res media. And this needs to be something accelerated. So we have done our very initial reference implementation. We have done with rsync, I think. This was just for testing, for development. Then we have integrated into LucidLink, because this was basically like, the obvious choice for like, cloud and on-prem deployments. And now we're just exploring like what's next on the menu, basically. So to answer the question in a more general way, I think is we can use several different transport technologies as the transport layer between on-prem and Sky systems in our multi-site feature. And we're looking at certain things right now, but I cannot like make a definite commitment. What you can do, however, with Aspera is, and this is not a problem, you can actually run an Aspera agent, let's say on the Sky system or on the cloud system or on the on-prem system, and ingest media through Aspera into each of these systems. Into these systems, that's definitely possible. But when it comes to the data transfer between these two systems, the negotiation, the protocols, etc., this is development work that we have to do against several technologies there, basically. Andrew, you maybe want to add something to this? Maybe you have a different spin on this one, but this is,
No, yeah, the Aspera question is great. Yeah, you sort of summed it up the way I would. So when we're going between point A and point B, Aspera to some people means like what transfer acceleration protocol you're using. When we look at the workflow, so almost the train line between raw footage and finished assets, like, is Aspera involved in the handoff between the stations or the junctions? And the answer to both of those is yes, one is a roadmap item, but the answer to sort of the second question is very much depending on the customer's local environment and which flavor of Aspera that they've got implemented at the edge of the workflow rather than the edge of the infrastructure.
Thanks, folks. We do have a couple more questions coming in, but I think at this point we're going to answer those after the event. We will personally reach out and get back to you on those because we get into the end of the session, and we wanted to just let you know where to find out more. As we said at the beginning, we will be exhibiting at the NAB show coming up pretty soon, so you can meet us at the South Lower Hall. We're at booth 9507. Marco and Derek will be there alongside our North America's rep, John Harris. And you'll be able to see Strawberry Multisite, skies, and the new user interface as well demonstrated at the booth. So please do book your demo. You can reach out through our website, projective.io, and book your meeting and schedule your meeting with the team there. Also, if you're not going to NAB, which may be the case, we will be at MPTS. We will be at Broadcast Asia, although there's probably no APAC audience here. Hopefully they're all resting. But if you want to have an online demonstration anyway and not going to be at any of those shows, by all means, contact us and we'll sort out some time to talk to you. With all that said, I'd like to thank the panelists, Marco, Andrew, Derek. Thank you as always, fantastic session. And thank you to all our attendees. Thank you for really engaging questions. For those that we were unable to answer, we will come back to you for sure after the event. And we will be sharing the recording with everyone who registered, whether they attended or not. You will receive it on your email within the next couple of days. And with that, we just want to thank you all. Have a great rest of the day and hopefully see some of you at a show near you. Bye-bye.